So hi everyone. I'd like to welcome Cath from Woodside Apothecary here today with me. Cath, first of all, welcome.
Thank
Um,
you.
you and I know each other because you have been working with me for, is it a couple of years now as my herbal practitioner?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is since 2022, I think.
2022, yeah, so a couple of years. So I know we first met because I was one of your case studies when you were still studying, and we worked
Yep.
as well alongside Hannah Charman as well. So she was your mentor at the time. And then I've carried on my journey with you, and I thought it'd be really nice today to bring you on to have a chat about using herbs in menopause, midlife. I know how much they've really helped me. So I thought it'd be really nice for us to sort of have a little chat. So for anyone who doesn't know you and Woodside Apothecary, do you want to just quickly introduce yourself and sort of what you
Sure.
do?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Cath Couzens. I'm a medical herbalist and I'm based in Macclesfield in Cheshire. And I qualified in 2022. I haven't always been a herbalist, obviously. I used to run a PR and marketing agency, and actually, it was my own health challenges which landed me in hospital
Okay.
with a potential gallstone that started me on my path to learning more about herbal medicine. In utter desperation, I went to see a herbalist and was very, very skeptical. It was suggested to me by a friend and I went to see this herbalist, and I got better. In summary, after months of investigations, MRI, CT scan,
Wow.
ultrasound, lots of drugs, lots of morphine, omeprazole, all sorts of things, and my
Wow.
stress levels were really high at the time. And it just completely changed my life. It changed how I what I eat and drink for most of the time,
Yeah.
and it really changed my approach to stress. And it opened the doors onto this whole world which I had no idea about in terms of herbal medicine and healing plants. And I started my training in 2017.
Wow.
So now I support other people. I have patients all over the country because I do appointments online. So I offer health consultations online. So
Yeah.
I have patients from, Scotland to London to the southwest, to
Fantastic.
Cornwall.
That's great. And it's interesting how often our journeys sort of our learning and becoming a practitioner often comes from our own health challenges, often that we land up where we are and then obviously are there helping other people along their journeys. So
Definitely. And it's interesting because I think it really helps me in my practice because if I'm saying to someone, oh, I'd really recommend that you cut out dairy and gluten, and I know how hard that is because I've done it myself. I do
yeah,
now eat dairy and gluten but for a period
yeah,
while my body was rebalancing, I cut them both out. And I know from personal experience how hard that can be. I've been
yeah,
there, got the
yeah,
t-shirt. So I can, and I know how hard it is to cut out things like caffeine. I used to drink volumes of caffeine. I still love a cup of tea. That's my real weak spot. But I also know that I need to drink a lot more water and not drink 15 cups of tea a day.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, I've been there. So, and I learn from my patients every day, so I
yeah.
learn something new from my patients all the time. And it's always when someone hands their health over to you as a practitioner, it's a real honor. You're working with that person on a journey. And that's one of the reasons actually why I always do, I offer a free discovery call on
Mhm.
Zoom. It's on my website because I think when you're working with someone about your health, it's really important that you do feel that they're the right person for you,
I agree.
and
I think
I
having
might
that,
not be the right person.
yeah, and I think having that connection is really important because you do go on a journey with people and
Okay.
making sure that you kind of get on to a certain degree and then you sort of go on that journey together and it is a process and having had your own health challenges you bring an empathy into that space that maybe someone that hasn't had their own health challenges wouldn't bring but it is really really important to have that connection so yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
So
that's me.
yeah, so, no, so that's brilliant. And obviously, you and so obviously, I met you guys because I came with my challenges with menopause
Yes.
and the ups and downs that I'd been experiencing. And I got to a point whereby I wasn't managing some of my symptoms just through lifestyle, diet, nutrition, the sort of knowledge that I had. And I'd chosen not to go the HRT route. That's a personal choice. I wanted to navigate it in a more natural way if I could. And I was having really quite bad migraines, always had bad migraines anyway, but they were sort of significantly impacted by the sort of fluctuations in hormones, and aches and pains and things. So I came to you guys, Hannah and yourself, and you set me on my journey, which I found pretty liberating in many ways. It's helped on moods and everything else. So I wanted to sort of chat to you really about the use of herbal medicine during this time, and the best way for us to go about that, really, because there's obviously lots out there that you can pick off shelves.
Yes.
But I think working one-on-one with a practitioner is really important.
Yeah, I think there's so many things that we could unpack there. So where do we start?
I don't know.
Okay, so let's talk about HRT first. I think that's really important to acknowledge that. So
Yeah,
I think it's really important that people who might be watching this know that actually I'm not just treating women who have chosen the more natural route. I'm
yeah.
actually treating a lot of women who are on HRT.
And it
And
can go
actually,
alongside, can't it? Yeah, very much
completely.
so.
Yeah, very, very much so. So I was having a look actually at my patient register the other day,
Mhm.
and it's about 45% of the women who I see specifically presenting with perimenopause or menopause saying, this is what I need help with, they are
Mhm.
taking HRT. And that number was 40% in my first couple of months. So it's increasing quite quickly.
Yeah,
So it can absolutely sit alongside very, very
yeah.
comfortably, and can really support women. And what I see a lot of the time is that maybe women who've gone on to HRT, they feel better, but they're still not feeling maybe quite themselves. And that phrase is very common.
Yeah,
I just don't feel like myself. I saw a
yeah,
lady last week who said that very line, and she's on HRT. So
yeah,
that's it. Just, if you're on HRT, you can still have herbal medicine
yeah.
and you can still see a medical herbalist.
And I think that is really important because I mean, again, I'm not anti-HRT. I work with women going through
Yeah,
menopause, and many of them are on HRT. Many of them have chosen not to or can't. And I
yeah,
think it's kind of that sort of very encompassing space that, and it's lovely to have something like herbal medicine that you can use alongside HRT, that is a complementary therapy, that whereby you're using the different things for different aspects of your journey, really, and the symptoms that are
definitely.
impacting it.
Yeah, and I think actually it's probably also worth mentioning that, it's not just HRT. I've seen a lot of women recently with high blood pressure, a lot.
Okay.
There's been a real flurry of women with high blood pressure in the last
Well,
6 weeks, and they've all been on blood pressure medication. So I'm working.
interesting.
I mean, about 80% of the people I work with are on allopathic medication prescribed by
Mm,
their GP. So it's
yeah,
really, really common. And actually, sometimes I see people who aren't on any medication and they don't have um, a specific presentation, or they don't have an illness or a disease label, so to speak, but they say, I just want to feel better. I'm not ill, I don't have
yeah.
anything, but also I just don't feel like myself, or I want to regain some vitality, or maybe I want to work with a practitioner before I even get towards
Mm,
perimenopause. And I've seen someone in that situation 2 weeks ago. She
that,
booked in on International Women's Day, and she said, it's a treat for me, and this is about looking after myself and looking after my health, and I want to make sure that I'm in the best place possible before I even get there.
yeah. And also, I think if we can be empowered to do that, to actually, so I'm a great believer that all these we actually are quite reactionary in the fact we get to a point where we
Uh,
either can't cope or the symptoms are coming thick and fast, that we do something about it, rather than being prepped almost and armed with a lot of knowledge and information whereby we can sort of pave the way, really, so that the path doesn't have to be as bumpy as maybe a lot
yes,
of us are experiencing. And
yes,
hopefully mean, I've got two girls, and I'm hoping that my journey and the knowledge that I'm gaining will help them so that they don't have such a bumpy journey into perimenopause and beyond. Because a lot of it, if we tweak lifestyle factors, and then we've got things like herbal medicine to help level off a lot of this stuff, we can go through it. What's the word I'm looking for? In a much more balanced fashion.
Definitely. And I'm also seeing a lot of women who've had a late diagnosis of ADHD, and they're also dealing with these hormonal changes. So everyone is
Yeah,
different, and I think that's really important. A great thing with herbal medicine is that a consultation is very, very different to seeing your GP. Our GPs are under massive pressure, and I think they get 8 minutes now. My consultations are 90 minutes.
yeah,
So we go through everything. We might not get through everything in the first consultation, and that's absolutely fine. Things will unravel,
yeah,
as they do. But we go through not just what you're presenting with and what you want help with, but also your diet and your past medical history, a bit about family health history, um, things like allergies, and we go through all the different systems of the body in a lot of detail, which doesn't faze me at all. But lots of people might get a little bit embarrassed or a little bit shy talking about periods and the colour of the blood or their digestive system and if they're having a bowel movement every day. But
love
honestly, for
talking
me,
about poo.
well, yeah, it's all about the gut. Um, but it's part of my day-to-day work, and that information goes in for that consultation. I don't carry it around with me, but it's really, really invaluable, and it tells me so much about that person because I'm treating the person.
Yeah,
I'm not treating the disease, or I'm not
yeah,
treating the perimenopause. I'm treating the person.
yeah.
And that will give me so much information about what's going on with them at a deeper level. And we also, and I think really importantly, talk about emotional well-being.
It's huge.
We'll talk all about the physical health and bones and aches and headaches and sleep and migraines and respiratory stuff. And are they having palpitations? Are they getting brain fog? How's their memory? Are they starting to get osteoarthritis? Are they walking into a room and thinking, why am I here? Or are they walking into a supermarket and thinking, what have I come to the supermarket for? And it's very common.
Yeah, it's huge.
Really, really common things that people are experiencing: lowered libido, dryness, dry eyes. Lots of people
Yeah,
don't realize it's not just about our vaginal health. Our eyes get really dry. People
yeah,
find that the contact lenses are getting gritty all of a sudden.
yeah,
Um, so all of these different symptoms, but I'm also asking about, how people are feeling in themselves. Where are they at in terms of their emotional well-being? And, you know, uh, maybe they're feeling angry. They might be getting kind of flares of anger and rage. They might be feeling low. They might have a low mood. They might be on antidepressants.
yeah.
Everyone is different. So that deep dive in that 90-minute consultation really allows me then to treat the person and
And
what's
you,
going on.
and you're piecing together a whole picture, because two people might
Yeah,
present with similar symptoms, but you treat them very differently according to what else is going on. And we've also got the impact of our family dynamic, what's going on there. Also changes of how we feel about ourselves, and I think that's a big aspect in perimenopause. You look at, all of a sudden what you're experiencing from emotions and feeling angry, and you sort of think, so this is not me, and then people react to that, so you're responding to their emotions around you in the transition that you're going through. It's a huge amount of stuff to unpack, really. So have someone that can hold space for you, that can, work through that with you. I mean, I know you and I have had some sessions whereby I've been completely overwhelmed, and it's great to have someone that just is able to listen, hold space, and just try and unpack it and work through a
mm,
path that, it's going to be
mm,
okay. We just need to sort of fit the jigsaw together.
definitely. Everyone is individual, and there's so many things that come into that picture that can really affect how we're feeling on that hormonal journey. Sleep. Sleep is
Huge.
huge. It's huge. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm 51 in a couple of weeks, and I started my training in 2017. I wish I'd been a bit healthier in my 30s and my 40s. I really do.
Yeah.
And I kept saying to my body during my training, because the training was really extensive, please don't let me go into perimenopause now. Just let me, just let me get to the end of the
End up
training.
with brain fog and everything else.
Oh, honestly, the amount of information that you're
Huge.
learning and taking in about, the plants and the Latin names and the body and anatomy and physiology and differential
Huge.
diagnosis and clinical examinations, listening to people's lungs and, all sorts of stuff. And I think my body was listening to me because after I qualified, and it was probably also kind of the post stress of finals and the run up to all of my exams, but I definitely started noticing that, there were little things happening and my sleep was going slightly awry. And I take herbal medicine, and I'm finding that's supporting me pretty well. And I tweak my own tincture as I go along. And I think that's important as well, is that if someone does come to me as a patient, it doesn't mean they're going to have the same herbal prescription for the duration of that
No.
practitioner patient relationship. It might change. We might start off, someone might not drink alcohol. So, because tinctures are alcohol based, we might start off with capsules or a powder or a tea.
Mm.
People might find that they're getting really achy joints. There might be something topical involved. But even if they do start with a tincture, which is probably my favourite way of working, to be fair, because the herbs are very potent in a tincture.
Yeah.
Um, they're very easy to take. You just have a teaspoon morning, after breakfast and dinner. Some people have some after breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It all depends on the person.
Yeah.
Um, but it's easy to take. You're not having to maybe brew up herbs to have a herbal tea.
Mm.
Um, but it could change. It could change, 6 months down the line, 9 months down the line, a year down the line. It's unusual for the tincture to change the first couple of months, because it will take time for the herbs to work. And
Yeah.
herbalists really believe that we have our bodies have this innate ability to rebalance, and that can sometimes there are conditions that have gone on for too long where that's not possible, but we can maybe support those symptoms. But we really believe that on the whole bodies can get back in balance if given the
Definitely.
right conditions.
And I think that's it. Your body will do anything it can to heal. And a lot of it is, it's a bit like the homeopathic, naturopathic philosophy of we're kind of unraveling back. So it's taking you a long time to get to the point you are. And this is why I think a lot of women have varying perimenopausal symptoms depending on what their
Yes.
health picture has been prior. And so what as a practitioner you're trying to do is unravel that and unpack it. And that does take time. And I think we're so used to in the modern world of a quick fix, take a pill, and it all goes away. But
Yes.
with more natural medicine and holistic therapies, that's not how we work. We're trying to unravel all of that back to a state of balance and where the body can, repair and actually, go back to a sense of homeostasis. So it's a different thing,
Absolutely.
isn't
It doesn't, it's very, very, herbal medicine is very different to allopathic medicine. So we are all very used to having a paracetamol or having some form of painkiller and feeling the pain of a headache go away,
it?
fairly quickly. Whereas herbal medicine works on a completely different level. It works on a much slower basis. And that's why, my follow-ups would tend to be after 4 weeks. I'm
Yeah,
more than happy to see someone before that if they feel they need that extra support. But typically, I will create a prescription for a patient and I will dispense, which I will make the herbal medicine for them, and then I will see them 4 weeks down the line.
yeah,
And we'll see at that point how they're getting on.
yeah,
And then take it from there. But it works in it works in a completely different way, and it works on our emotional well-being as well as our physical well-being.
definitely.
Lots
Well,
of
we are
people.
that whole person, aren't we?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. We're a whole person. And that's why, if someone comes to see me about, perimenopause and brain fog and lots of cognitive issues, I'm still going to ask them about their skin, and I'm still
yeah,
going to ask them about their respiratory system and all the other different systems, because the cognitive issues is just very it's very reductionist just looking at that. I want to
Mm,
consider everything. And like you say,
yeah,
it's a bit like pulling together a jigsaw
yeah.
and a bit like being a private detective in a way,
Yes,
someone's
yes,
help.
trying to dig around and find out why, because
Yeah,
the body never does anything by chance. There's always a reason why. For example, if you've got higher cholesterol or the blood pressure goes up, there are reasons why the body is doing that. And often the body will do things to keep you safe. So, one of our jobs is often trying to understand, well, why is the body responding like that? What's going on that's making it do this? And that's what's so wonderful about things like herbal medicine and naturopathic medicine is that we are trying to get to the root of what's going on, which
yeah,
hopefully then affects the whole.
absolutely. A really common situation is where I'll see women who say, for example, something has flared up, whether it's blood pressure or skin or whatever it is. And then when we talk about it, actually, with some, very gentle and careful questions, I'll find out that actually it's coming up to the anniversary of something. It could
Yeah,
be a loss or a bereavement. It could be a divorce. It's something.
yeah.
And actually and often, and this happens so often, and it happened just before Christmas with a lovely patient. And when we talked about it, she said, "Oh, I just didn't realize, it just
No,
wasn't.
it's
I
connecting us
had,
dots.
but I hadn't thought that's what would have been causing,
Yeah.
the problems."
And
Um,
often with perimenopause as well, grief, trauma, stress, all those things can, I mean, I know that I noticed my first changes with my symptoms and thinking, oh, maybe I'm entering into that perimenopausal phase when it was about probably 6, 8 months after my father passed away.
yeah,
And that was like a big life event that happened. And I know of quite a few women whereby stressful events, traumatic events, grief. I mean, some people have said, haven't they, that they have the loss of a partner and then they stop their period straight away, just literally overnight. They never see a period again. So the impact of that can be huge.
yeah. And that's why, sometimes I'm working more on an emotional level, even rather than a physical level, or both together. It's
Yeah,
so, so important.
yeah.
I really think that when we move into perimenopause, it gives us a little bit of a report. We might
Mm.
not want to read it, you know. Um, I don't think I really wanted to read mine.
I don't think
But
most of us do, but it's a
no,
wake up
it's a
call.
bit of a reality check in
Yeah,
terms of,
yeah.
okay, this is actually where I am. My sleep is going awry, or I'm getting this, or I'm experiencing this, and it does give you a really incredible opportunity actually to have a think about that report, think about where you are now. And typically it is about 50, but
Mm.
I am seeing much younger women actually.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
important to mention. I'm seeing
definitely.
women in their late 30s
Mm.
whose periods are starting to change, and they're starting to see some of these, unusual, they find unusual symptoms. And I'm
Mm.
thinking straight away that, this could be perimenopause.
Yeah,
Um, but it does give you a bit of a health check on your health. And, then you can decide where to go and make some lifestyle changes as well, because I'm also trained in nutrition, and a huge part of what I do, a huge part, is talking to people about diet, lifestyle,
yes,
exercise,
so
daylight,
important.
rest, nature connection,
Yeah,
movement, connection with others, connection
yeah.
with friends,
Community is big.
family.
Yeah,
Huge.
and we can feel very disconnected. And I think it's a time when maybe we've kind of put ourselves to the back of the queue, and it's a time when actually our bodies go, no, you can't do that anymore. You have to put yourself first, and you have to almost sort of push everything else away and step up and go, right, I've got to look at my life as a whole and make some actual changes which are going to
Yeah.
help me go into that next, because let's face it, post menopause could be 10, 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
So, walking into that phase of your life in a sort of healthy, balanced way whereby you are putting yourself first is really important.
Definitely. And I mean, sometimes with some patients, I might not even start with herbs. We might start with gut health, because gut health
Mm,
is so important. And
huge.
if their digestion is really, really weak, I don't really want to give them herbal medicine necessarily. There are certain
Mhm.
things that I can give to support, but
Yeah,
I don't want to potentially give them herbal medicine and then they don't actually absorb it. We
exactly.
might
No,
need
that's
we might need to
counterintuitive.
just yeah, we might need to actually take a little step back and go, let's look at hydration and let's look at caffeine. It's always the nightmare topic. Let's look at diet, and then let's come together in a month and then let's maybe put together a herbal prescription then and let's see where
Yeah,
you are. Everyone is
yeah,
different, but
exactly.
also I think rest is very, very important during
Huge,
this phase in
huge. And we
life.
struggle with it living in the modern world. Everything's instant. There's this, assumption that, if you send someone a message or an email that you're going to get a message straight. But there's that real pressure that, it's got,
Yeah,
and in this phase of our lives, we have to slow everything down.
yeah. I see lots of women who are, busy mums, children, aging parents, stressful job, trying to see friends and cram lots of things in, but they're also going to the gym, doing, really intense HIIT classes, running at 6 o'clock every morning. And, for me, straight away, I'm thinking cortisol,
Cortisol.
you know, let's try and lower that. And sometimes it can be quite hard to work in that way because people are really, um, sometimes really obsessed with that run or it's really really important to them, but
Mm,
actually they might just need some rest. They might need yoga or
yeah.
tai chi or
Or just
pilates
go
or
for just go for a walk
going for
rather
a
than
walk in
a run.
nature. Yeah, and just bringing that cortisol down is so
Mm,
important because, of
mm,
course, when we have that constant high elevated cortisol, it can lead to, all sorts of problems like the classic weight gain, struggling to lose weight, so many different symptoms.
huge, huge amount. And out of this, so obviously, like you, I feel that working one-on-one with a practitioner, if you can, is your best option. Um, what you're feeling on sort of, because there's lots of stuff with supplements and herbal
Yes.
remedies out there and things like that. I mean, are any things like teas that might be supportive or anything that you think that is useful on, because it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because,
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, there are lots of really gorgeous herbs out there, but it's quite reductionist, and to think that this herb will do this. You
mm,
know, I mean, lavender is gorgeous, but not everyone likes lavender. Some
no, the
people don't
taste is
really
not
like
everyone's
the
cup of
smell of
tea.
it. No, and the taste, I mean, it can be quite strong.
Yeah,
Things like lavender and chamomile, are really gorgeous, but not if you don't like them, and
yeah.
that's why sometimes I do find it quite frustrating when I'll see people, maybe it's an event or an expo kind of exhibition, and they'll come up for a chat and they'll say, "Oh, I tried sage capsules from a certain high street store." We all
Mm.
probably know which one.
Yes, for your
There
hot
are lots of
flushes,
others out
probably.
there. Um, yeah, I bought some sage capsules and it didn't do anything for me.
Yeah,
Um, the problem with a lot of the food supplements out there and capsules is that they can often be full of fillers. I
yes,
mean, you really have to read the label, make sure you're getting a really good quality
yeah.
supplement. But also, sage might not be right for you, you
I think
know?
that's it, isn't it? We make these
Um,
assumptions based on, well, this is good for this and this is good for that. But as you say, that might not just be right for you at that time.
yeah, and working I don't like I always have to try and retrain myself to say, using the herbs. I'm trying to think about working with the herbs,
Mm,
and working with sage in that kind of clinical setting. I might only include sage in someone's tincture prescription, of which they might have 7 different herbs in that
yeah,
blend, or 5 different herbs for quite a short period of time. You don't necessarily want to be on sage long term. It could actually be quite dangerous,
yeah,
depending on you and depending on what's going on. And so it's really, really important that people get really good quality advice, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
In the same way that I was at a menopause cafe event recently, and the lovely lady had tried a tea blend, and she said it had done nothing for her. It was a menopause tea blend, and I wasn't really that surprised because we're not looking at the root cause,
Yeah.
and that's what herbalists are trying to do. We're trying to treat that root cause, what is going on at that deeper level,
Yeah.
because if we can help that root cause, we're looking at maybe resolving that issue rather than putting like a sticking plaster on top and saying,
Yeah.
this herb does this, which is so
Yes.
reductionist.
Yeah. And we're also empowering people along the journey as well, giving them
Hugely.
tools and things that they can practically do, because ultimately that's what we want, is to empower people along their journey so that they can take that forward, that knowledge, that information, working alongside someone like yourself, rather than, as you say, just putting a plaster over something and hoping it will just go away.
Yeah, I think that's the real benefit of working with a practitioner, is it's bespoke, you
Yeah.
know, it's completely bespoke, ashwagandha, lots of people are aware of ashwagandha, and it's an amazing adaptogen. It can be so, so useful for so many different people, but it's not right for everyone.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
it's a bit like in terms of food, you would never eat spinach 6 times a day, every day of the year, because that's not actually going to be great for you. In the same way of lots of things, everything
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
moderation.
Yes.
In
And
the
also
same,
how it affects different things affect each other as well. So, you
absolutely.
know,
Lots of people are aware if you eat lots of carrots, your skin will start to go a little bit orange and tinge of orange. That is a fact. But
nature's way of
carrots are
going,
amazing.
yeah, it's like you had too much of that.
Yeah, exactly. So that bespoke approach that I think a medical herbalist can offer is really, really important. It's so different to going to get a supplement where you're
Yeah.
taking maybe an extract of,
Hmm.
of a herb. And actually, as a herbalist, I'm working with the whole herb. So if I am working on with a tea and I'm creating a tea prescription for someone, it's the whole herb that's going into the tea.
Yeah.
In the same way with a tincture, the whole herb has been macerated in alcohol for a 4-week period. I'm
Yeah.
not extracting one constituent. So
Yeah.
it's a completely different experience.
Yeah. And it's as nature would present it, therefore the body understands it and utilizes it better. So that's always, the sort of best way. So um I just want to touch on, if people would like to sort of, contact you, how they would get hold, because you're obviously in socials and you've got your website. And then I'd also like
Yeah.
to touch on, you do your herb club as well. So I'd like to finish on that as well at the end. So
Oh, we love Herb Club. Herb Club is this week,
is
actually.
it?
It's tonight, tomorrow, and Thursday. So, yes, so I have a website, Woodside Apothecary. So many people have said to me, why did you choose such a difficult word?
I have a tendency to stutter when I'm nervous and tired, and I always get stuck on the word. It's
Apothecary. It was always my favourite word as a kid. Haberdashery and apothecary. I love those two
fantastic.
words. Um, but it's called Woodside because of my Nana Ivy, who lived at Woodside Cottage. So it's a little nod to her and her lovely inspiration and influence that she had on me when I was younger. So yes, so I
Lovely.
do have a website. I am on socials, so I'm
And
on
that's
Instagram.
.co.uk, isn't it? So it's
.com.
Woodside. Oh,
Dot
it's
com.
.com.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it's
.com.
.com. So it's
Okay.
woodsideapothecary.com. I'm
Okay.
on Facebook and Instagram at Woodside Apothecary. I've got my red jumper on in my little picture. And I probably hang out more on Instagram than anywhere else.
Hmm.
That seems to be where the people that I work with are.
Yeah.
And I do lots of events. I do lots of workshops. I did one on Saturday, and we were learning about spring herbs, and I'd taken cleavers with me and nettles and chickweed cream and dandelions, and we were talking about the
Fantastic.
roots and the leaves, and then everyone made a bespoke tea blend for them, and everyone made a bespoke herbal vinegar to take home. So I do those all the time. The next one's in May on the 11th, and they're locally. A local in Cheshire. And then Herb Club was something that I launched in January, and I wanted to launch something that was kind of an easier drop in, so you don't have to be a member. And it was an hour's class where people could connect with one medicinal herb every month. And so the format is the same. I run one in Macclesfield, run one in Buxton, and then I have an online one so people all over the UK can join. And you can just DM me or email me, message me, and we'll sort out the details. But the Herb Club is an hour long. It's usually 7 till 8 o'clock, and I send out the herbs in the post for the online group, and it's a mystery, so people don't know what the herb is. And then we gather online, and I take people through a guided meditation where they hold the herb in their hands. And then after that, I get them to pop away and make a cup of tea with the herb. And they come back and journal about their guided meditation experience. And then I do a guided tea tasting where we
Fantastic.
bring in all the different senses. So we think about not just the flavour, but also the smell and what it looks like and where it's going in the body and how it makes us feel. More journaling, and then there's an optional share. There's never any pressure to share, but lots of people are really keen to chat. It's a lovely atmosphere and a lovely group. And then at the end, I talk about the plant energetics and how I work with that plant in practice.
That's fantastic. And there's a real sense of community there as well, isn't it? That sort of
Yeah,
sharing, coming together,
yeah.
learning as well. And
It's
so
really lovely. It's really, really
fantastic.
lovely. So yes, so it's Herb Club week this week. So I'm
Cool.
looking forward to sharing another herb with everyone. So yeah, please get in touch if it's something that you'd be interested in.
And as you're in Macclesfield, do you do many? I mean, I did your firesider workshop,
Yeah.
which was online. Do you do many online workshops, or is it predominantly just Herb Club at the moment?
So Herb Club's online. I don't do a huge amount of online workshops, but it's something that I'd really love to develop because the fireside workshops that I did
Great fun.
before Christmas were so popular. I ended
Great.
up putting on another two. So just to explain to everyone, I sent off a lovely box to everyone who joined with all the ingredients in the box, the jar, the apple cider vinegar, all the herbs, all the spices, and then we all logged on online and I talked everyone through the medicinal elements of the herbs and folklore and magic and brought all of that together.
It's
And everyone
great.
at the end had made their fire cider to shake every day for the next couple of weeks. So I will definitely do more online herbal workshops. I just need to. I could do with a day to do some planning, maybe over
I
Easter.
know the feeling. About a week, so you can plan
Yeah, I'd
everything.
love that. That would be great. But
Oh,
one thing I will mention just really, really briefly is that I am going to be doing some additional training in May, and I'm going to be training to become a junior herb club leader,
ooh,
which is really exciting. I've literally just signed up in the last 24 hours. So
wow.
come September, I'm going to be launching in person Junior Herb Club,
Oh,
and the
wow.
training is a really intense week of training, and then you can work with children, and it's a
Oh,
full
wonderful.
year's curriculum, and they get a certificate at the end,
Oh,
and
that's
then they can go into
wonderful.
second year. So that's really exciting. So I'm going to be doing that in May. So I'm going to be talking a bit more about that on my socials and in my newsletter really soon.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I think that the youngsters really need to have that connection with nature
Definitely.
and working with things like herbs and
Yeah.
growing and everything. So that
Yeah.
sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's learning through play and fun and making things to take home. And I think it'll be really, really great thing to do. And yeah, it'd be
Oh,
lovely. And
super exciting.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to it actually. So that's that. My
Fantastic.
training's in May, and I'll be talking about that online really soon.
Perfect. Oh, well, look, I'll look out for that one. So, well, look, Kath, thank you so much for your time today because I know you're uber busy. So, thanks for chatting with me
Pleasure.
today and covering everything. And yeah, so people basically can find you on your website, woodsideapothecary.com, and on socials at Woodside Apothecary.
Thank you
Super.
so much. It's been lovely to see you.
And you, sweetheart, and I'll see you soon. You take care.
Bye now.
Cheers.